How to go about transforming your isolation phase so that it doesn't turn into loneliness. I wanted to create this video to talk about 3 key ways that really you can stay afloat during this phase and really transform your mindset so that you can cope with what's happening to you during the isolation phase and you're not feeling like you're being consumed by it. If you give in to the isolation phase, really into that spiritual depression that you feel during this time, it can be really difficult to come out of this phase. And so, really understanding what you're going through is temporary and transforming that mindset will help you get through this much quicker. Now, I want to start off by saying that anybody that is experiencing the isolation phase, it is very natural for you to feel like this is really going towards loneliness and going towards loneliness real fast. And this is simply because all you can really focus on is all that is crumbling in your life. At this point, you might have lost some relationships, your identity, your career, and all you can focus on is the loss, not being able to fit into places, having those same conversations, which felt so natural to you. So naturally, it is really easy to get sucked into seeing only that which is crushing you, that which is crumbling. And it is really hard to see the light and focus on where you're ultimately headed. This might be too new, too raw for you to do anything else. But really, that is the key here. The sooner you can take the isolation phase and really reframe it for yourself, the easier it will be to come out of the isolation phase without having negative impacts, negative thinking around what you are actually experiencing. So how do you actually do that? Well, think about this phase as being something that you truly need for what's up ahead. It's really a phase that is preparing you for what comes next. You want to think of this phase almost as, you being that mystic that needs to retreat to a cave in order to be able to hear themselves better. Unfortunately, though, due to, the noise of everyday life, because you haven't been able to do that in your day to day, you now need to retreat to this cave so that you can really focus on that inner sound. And of course, with time, it'll get louder, much more clearer. And you'll begin to see that time that you spend as your time and appointment with the divine. And this isolation phase is really the preparation to get you to that phase. Now, the more you can reframe what you're going through and seeing it as temporary can really help alleviate that pressure, that, loneliness that you might be experiencing. So next, I want to kind of talk about what you can do during the isolation phase so that it doesn't consume you the way that it would if you just fed into the negativity, into the darkness that this phase really brings. Now, one of the ways to help you get through the isolation phase is by really keeping your energy light. Now, if you can look for ways that you might be able to enjoy this alone time, it will be easier for you not to get stuck into negative thought patterns and being really consumed by the isolation phase. Now, this will look different for everybody in terms of what you might enjoy. So I'm just sharing some ideas that might be helpful to you. Now, the first one is really journaling. Journaling for overthinkers is a great way to really get those thoughts out and being able to put them on paper so that you can truly release them. Think of it as almost taking, mental thoughts and releasing them on paper. So you want to be able to, create a daily habit of doing that. And that might be able to clear your mind so you can sleep better, think better, and really understand that, as you're having these thoughts, you really have a way. You don't need to keep carrying them like excess baggage. You have a way to release them. So the more you do this, the easier it will become. Now, another way is really self-care and self-love during this time, such as salt baths, going out for nature walks, maybe reading a good book that really brings you laughter or makes you feel lighter. Some may actually might benefit from really reading spiritual books. Now, I understand when you're not really a spiritual being prior to an awakening and really have a spontaneous awakening, this can be quite a turnoff. But at the same time, it will help your journey if you learn a little bit more. about spiritual awakenings, of understanding what you're going through, because it will actually help you apply that knowledge to help you get through what you're really going through. Tip number 2 has to really do with finding some form of connection. Now, unfortunately, as we do lose a lot of relationships that we can no longer, connect with after our awakening, that does not mean everybody needs to go. There may be ways that you can still engage with your favorite people, those that you love, like family members, close siblings, and possibly even friends, without going too deep into what you are experiencing. The key here is not so much sharing exactly the journey that you are on, but just having an outlet where you have some form of an engagement with other people so that you are enjoying yourself. Now, in case you say to yourself, I actually have only friendships in my circle that are probably no longer good for me, and this won't work out for me, then in that case you want to look for possibly spiritual communities online that you can engage with. There's a huge community out there on YouTube, maybe finding some folks there that you might be able to relate to, and really finding somebody or someone that you can really engage with, possibly not on a deeper level, but just so that you do have some form of human connection during this difficult phase. That will make it much more easier for you to feel like you still have somebody that you can talk to and not really feel as lonely as this journey could really become. Tip number 3 is truly just meditation. Think of yourself as being that seed that's been planted in the darkness so that you can grow roots before you can actually bloom. Now, unless you use meditation during your isolation phase to really help you through not just this phase, but also later on, because really your awakening journey is to awaken to your true self, which is only possible by going within. Now, this is really difficult for some people to hear that are, not spiritual at all prior to a spontaneous awakening, and it's not something they're interested in. But even just building smaller increments, of like 10 minutes a day will help you go a really long way, because ultimately you will begin enjoying that, time that you are spending in meditation, and it will allow you to sit for a longer period of time so you can actually hear your own inner voice, as well as having that time with the divine so you can hear that guidance that you will truly need on this journey, and also to feel connected from within. So truly, truly honoring this time and understanding that what you're going through this phase is truly just preparation so you can bloom will go a long way on your journey and beyond. Thank you so much for listening. I hope this was helpful. God bless.